What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Professor Anime and welcome back to yet again another video. In this video I am here to bring you all the weekly anime review of Tales of Zestiria, the Cross, or the X as some like to call it. So in today's video we're going to be reviewing episode 5, at least the episode that ended up coming out in the broadcast orders. Technically, in the chronological order of the story, this would be episode 4, but since I am abiding to the broadcast order, this is episode 5. So, with that said, let's get this started. Alright, so, in the beginning of this episode of Tales of Zestiria, we find out that apparently Sorey has been knocked out for 3 whole days, and this is due to the fact that his body just could not handle the vast majority of power that was being thrown at him. As we know, Sorey is a human and he has lived with the Seraphim. Yes, he has lived with the Seraphim for a very long time, and that is why he is able to see the Seraphim in the first place. But when it comes to the bottom line down to it, he is still a human, and being thrown with this vast majority of energy and power definitely has taken a toll on Sorey's body. But apparently from Lailah, he is eventually going to get used to, his body's eventually going to get used to the power that he has now manifested, and the more encounters that he has with other Seraphim, he is eventually going to learn how exactly he can control the Seraphim and how exactly he can control other aspects to his newfound power. And we get a perfect example of seeing Sorey not being able to control his powers to the fullest, because when he tries to introduce Mikleo and Lailah to Alisha, you know, she's just kind of like, I don't see them, you know, but we do see that eventually Lailah ends up coming up with this way on how exactly Sorey can use his power to have Lailah telepathically connect with Alisha. So this is the only way as to how Alisha is going to be able to communicate with the Seraphim that Sorey is describing to her. But eventually, he will get used to his newfound power, and eventually he is not going to have to do this. This is just for the sole fact that, you know, he has just now become a shepherd. His body cannot handle certain aspects and what it means to be a shepherd because of the amount of stress that is being put onto his body. And also there is the whole thing about Malevolence, which we will get to in a bit. But yeah, so eventually Sorey will end up coming up with other means in order to have others communicate with the Seraphim. Pretty much the rest of this episode, we get to see that Sorey, Mikleo, and Lailah end up going into this underground ruins beneath the city, and they end up stumbling across this huge bat, which is pretty much just bats that have become Hellions due to the malevolence that has been going around in the city. And yo, I gotta say, the animation to the fighting sequences in Tales of Zestiria is so freaking good. I love what Ufotable is doing, especially with the fight sequences. They look like the scene that there, okay, in that episode, look so pretty. The way on how like the flames were going about when Lailah was, you know, doing her little magic spells and everything, it looks so good. And don't even get me started on the water. The water scene that we end up seeing with the ruins, you know, when the water just, you know, comes up, you know, especially when Mikleo uses his water attacks, like, yo, the water looked realistic. I really love how detailed Ufotable is with their work. But anyway, now when it comes to the malevolence, we see that apparently the one to cause all of this malevolence is the Lord of Calamity, which we have yet to see, but he is being foreshadowed in this episode. But when it comes to the malevolence, as far as what we have gotten about the information in Tales of Zestiria, is that malevolence is the negative emotions that are brought upon humanity, and with their negative emotions, Hellions end up spawning and also can end up taking over people's bodies as well. And you know, we saw a vast majority of malevolence already that is going down within the city. We had, you know, the bats in this episode, the big freaking bat, and then in the last episode we also had this dragon-like creature that was also formed by a huge amount of malevolence. So there is a lot of malevolence that is going down within this city, and that is most likely due to the fact that the corruption that is going down within the city, especially when it comes to, you know, trying to kick Alisha off the throne, and then also just negative negative emotions from people in general. Now, the Lord of Calamity was foreshadowed in this episode of Tales of Zestiria, and by the end of this episode, we see a storm that is going on, and this is brought upon a huge amount of malevolence. So, what I'm very curious on is it the Lord of Calamity? Are they actually going to show the Lord of Calamity, like, earlier than expected, or are they going to show Velvet? I mean, I have heard that Velvet is actually going to make an appearance in Tales of Zestiria. Velvet is going to be the main protagonist of the new game, Tales of Berseria, which is, you know, the whole reason why they're trying to, I guess, throw her in there to, like, promote the game. But, you know, while I do know that I have done research on the games, Tales of Zestiria actually takes place years after Tales of Berseria. But, so necessarily Tales of Berseria would be a prequel. But how exactly are they going to try to tie in Velvet into Tales of Zestiria? Because while we are getting a proper adaptation of the game, we are also getting new content that apparently is going to be from another game, you know? So I'm just very curious on how they're going to handle adding Velvet into the game, and, you know, if we actually do, or into the anime, excuse me, because if we actually do get to see Velvet in the next episode, that is going to be pretty sick, because I really like Velvet's character design, and just, you know, how the way she acts. If you have seen trailers to Tales of Berseria, you're gonna get hyped for that game, but I'm just very curious if that's either Lord of the Calamity, or maybe Velvet is actually appearing in, you know, the next episode. But yeah, this episode, awesome. This episode, awesome. I'm very curious as to see what is going to go down in the next episode of Tales of Zestiria, the Cross, or the X, as some like to call it. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode in the comments down below. And of course, if you like this video, don't forget to drop a like. It always helps out the channel. And if you want to see more content like this, hit the red subscribe button, and you will never miss a video from me. That about does it for this video, guys. Love you all. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.